Hey everyone, my name is Perry and welcome back to the cassette phase. So it's been a lot of fun experimenting with the different types of content that I can share with you all here on the channel. And it's been a learning experience so far. You know, as far as what you can include and what you can't, content ID issues and copyright issues and all of those types of things that can make YouTube not so fun from time to time. But I'm choosing not to let that stuff bring me down. So one thing that I've been racking my brain trying to figure out is how I can talk about music with you guys. Because music is, and always has been, a really big part of my life. And especially when we're talking about nostalgia, right? Not many things can take you back to a very specific time and place or give you a very specific feeling like music. Especially for someone like me who, growing up, music was on all the time, around the house, on road trips, anywhere really. So with all the limitations around YouTube's copyrights and, trying to figure out fair use and all of those types of things that just make my head spin, we are still going to talk about music here on this channel. Because honestly, I feel like life is just better with music playing. And not to sound too profound or anything, but the right song can inject, a much needed dose of life into existence. So what I'd like to do today is to make a mixtape, right? What 80s kid didn't make a mixtape or listen to a mixtape at some point? Whether that was trying to time it just right to record your favorite songs off the radio, or whether that was like dubbing from one cassette to another. Or maybe you meticulously crafted a mixtape for a special someone in the 80s. Or even in the 90s, did you put together a perfect playlist and then burn a CD for someone? But these mixtapes that I want to make here on the channel, they're going to be created around a very specific theme each time, or maybe a specific situation in which I just feel that the music is best played in. For example, the first one that I want to do today is titled 80s Summer Weekends. So I'll take you through the songs and explain why each one was chosen for this particular mixtape, and share some stories about the music as we go along. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you how you can listen to the mixtape if that's something that you might be interested in doing. So if you want to come along while we put together this 80s mixtape, come hang out. Okay everyone, welcome back to the rug. Let's go ahead and make a mixtape. So just like some housekeeping rules or like some guidelines, I guess, for making these mixtapes, I want to try to keep them at 12 songs. I think that's a good round number. 6 tracks on side A, 6 tracks on side B. I also want to note that I'm going to do my best to keep it to one song per artist, which can be challenging, of course. And I'm gonna I'm definitely going to include some songs you've heard, 1,000 times. But I also want to mix in like some lesser known songs as well. I don't want to just go super obvious with things like, Summer of '69 or Boys of Summer, as great as those songs are. And also when thinking about the theme, I'm going more for the feel of the song and the sound of the music, as opposed to trying to find lyrics that fit within the theme. But all of that said, let's get started. So the first song, which has to be a good one, right? It has to grab your attention. And this may be one that you've heard, but maybe not. But hear me out. The first song is called Runaway, and it's by Damn Yankees. Now, Damn Yankees are considered a supergroup consisting of Ted Nugent and members from groups like Styx and Night Ranger. Now, this album didn't technically come out until early 1990. And the song was actually released as a single in 1991. But it was recorded starting in 1989, so I'm going to make a little exception for this mixtape here because this is just a fantastic old rock song that still maintains a very 80s sound. In fact, when I first sat down to put together this mix, I had another song in mind as the opener. Because, track ones are important. It sets the tone for the whole thing, as you know, but the song I originally had in mind, I ended up using as track 2, so we'll talk about it here in a minute, but it was just that when I listened to this song, Runaway, at loud volume, I just realized that, man, this song is just so good. It's got a great energy, and it just feels like summer sunshine in the 80s. It really does. And I know that Bon Jovi also has a song called Runaway, and that one is also really good. But if I had to choose one or the other, give me this one any day of the week. I'm sorry I can't show you too much of the tape insert here with one hand. But yeah, give this one a play at loud volume and let me know what you think. Okay, so for side A, song number 2, let's go ahead and grab some Journey. And it's a little misleading because the song that I've chosen is not on this album. This is Raised on Radio, which is probably my favorite Journey album front to back. But I don't have the album that my song comes from, which is strange. But I am talking about none other than Stone in Love. And I love Journey, and there were probably about a dozen tracks that I could have used, which would fit this theme perfectly. But man, Stone in Love, it just sounds like The Weeknd starting. And this would have been a perfect opening track, but I went with number 2 for this one here. But yeah, this comes off of the Escape album from 1981, so earlier. But in fact, it even released in the summer, July of 1981. And some of Journey's biggest hits came from that album, Open Arms and Don't Stop Believin'. But I'm telling you, if you're firing up the grill and having a beverage, crank up Stone in Love. Okay, let's keep it moving. Side A, track number 3. Let's go with Invisible Touch by Genesis. Now, this one was also released in the summertime, June of 1986 to be exact. And I wanted to add a little bit of a pop song here for track 3. And at this point in time, Genesis definitely had some serious pop elements in their music. And I don't mind that at all. I enjoy the old progressive stuff too. But I just think that Phil Collins just sounds fantastic on a pop song. And this one had such a great energy. It almost feels like you're starting off a road trip in the 80s or something like that. Also has a fantastic key change towards the end of the song. But yeah, just a really great, fun 80s pop song. And let's see where it came in on this album. Oh, track 1. Side 1, track 1. Also has Tonight, 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 Land of Confusion, and In Too Deep. Wow, that's a great set of songs back to back there. And then finish it off with some others here. Not nearly as well known, but I do love Throwing It All Away. But anyway, yeah. Title track from this one, Invisible Touch, track 3 on our mixtape. Okay, moving on to track 4, side A. Let's go with Vixen, Edge of a Broken Heart. So I don't remember hearing a lot of Vixen as a kid. Maybe just a few times in passing. But later in life, I've really loved listening to this band when I want that nostalgic 80s rock sound. And this song in particular just has such a catchy melody. This one's from 1988. And it makes sense that the melody is so good and catchy because it was written by Richard Marx. And let's see, this song made it to number 26 on the charts and was their highest charting single. So I guess we could call them kind of a one-hit wonder. But I don't mind that at all. I have two different Vixen tapes, and both are full of jams, honestly, but this one especially. Perfect for summer weekends in the 80s. And there it is, the first song, Edge of a Broken Heart. All right, track 5, side A. Let's go with some Poison. And the song, let's do Fallen Angel. Now I know that we've ventured fully into 80s hair metal, glam metal here, but to be honest, I love a lot of that stuff. You know, it's fun and carefree, and it's simple and straightforward, and it feels great on a mixtape meant to be blasted on a summer weekend in the 80s. It just does. Now this one also came out in 1988, made it up to number 12 on the charts. It gets a little bit overlooked on this album. You know, it's on the same album as Nothing But a Good Time and Every Rose Has Its Thorn and songs like that. But I actually prefer Fallen Angel to both of those, especially for this mix. It just has a fun, you know, upbeat, driving rhythm. Great melody, great production. I'm telling you, next time you're driving down a backcountry road with the sun shining and the windows down, give this one a try at full volume. Okay, and to close out side A, track 6, we're going to go with Toto, which is one of my favorite bands ever. And we're going to take the song We Can Make It Tonight. So for this track, I wanted to throw a little bit of a curveball here. Like I said, Toto, one of my all-time favorite bands, and any number of their songs from their catalog would fit into this mix. But this one comes from this 1986 album, Fahrenheit, which is probably my favorite of theirs. It's very 80s sounding and very poppy at times, but this particular song, you know, it has some of the more complex like rhythm structures and things like that you get from Toto, but while still keeping it a really catchy melody. The vocals sound amazing as always, and I'm telling you, just give this one a try. After the quirky little keyboard synth solo in the middle of the song, there's a great shredding guitar solo, and from there you'll realize, hey, I really do like this song, and I really feel like this makes a perfect closer for side A. Okay, so let's open up side B with a great old song, Your Love by The Outfield. So we took a little bit of a chance at the end of side A. So let's reel you back in with something familiar to start off side B. Similar to Stone in Love by Journey, this song, Your Love by The Outfield, it just sounds like The Weeknd somehow. You know, you just finished work, you're headed home, or maybe you're sitting in your front yard watching the kids play in the sprinkler. I remember hearing this one on the radio in my mom's car as a kid on the way home from school. And for me, this song just hits home. You know, it just does. This Play Deep album that it's on is from 1985. And the whole thing is really great for the most part. Reminds me a little bit of The Police in spots. But Your Love is definitely the highlight. It's just a classic 80s rock song. So we're headed back into the hair metal side of things for this next one. Let's go with 1989's Sometimes She Cries by Warrant. And look at that old cassette. I love the little sticker on there with it, you know, highlights some of the tracks. Love that. But I have a very specific memory of this particular song. We were at a Pizza Hut with my friends from my soccer team, right? Celebrating the end of another season. And we were all having a good time, eating pizza, you know, drinking pitchers of soda, playing arcade games, and then, of course, checking out the jukebox. And my friend told me, hey, have you ever heard Warrant? And at that time, I don't think that I ever had heard Warrant. But he played this track, Sometimes She Cries, on the jukebox at Pizza Hut. And it's been one of my favorites ever since. This is just another one that gains so much momentum when you play it at a high volume. I don't know what it is. You know, some of the other songs I could take or leave. But yeah, Sometimes She Cries right there. Great song. Okay, for the next track, let's go with Robert Palmer, Addicted to Love. And I'm sorry I don't have that on cassette to show you, so I'm just going to talk to you about that one a little bit. And I know you've heard this one a million times, and trust me, I used to just think of this song as just another, vanilla, played out 80s rock song. But one day, I was driving, common theme here, and this one came on, and I happened to turn it up a little bit. And again, the sun was shining, I had the windows down, and wow, this song, it just kind of came to life. I guess maybe I'd never given it a full chance. I mainly remembered it from the music video, which is iconic. But yeah, this thing rocks, and it just screams 80s. In fact, I'd go as far to say that now, as an adult, it's one of my favorite songs of that whole decade. So if you haven't heard it in a while, give Addicted to Love another shot with an open mind and open ears. It really is a jam. So I guess we're on track 4 now of side B, getting close to the end. So for this one, let's take a listen to some Lita Ford. And I don't have the cassette with the song that I'm referring to here. The song I want to use is Playing with Fire, which is actually on a different album. But similar to like Vixen or like Heart, I feel like Lita Ford brought that rock energy and catchy melodies with female vocals back in the 80s. Now I'm cheating a little bit here because Playing with Fire actually came out in the very early 90s, but it still definitely has that 80s feel to it. I could have gone with any number of Lita tracks, honestly, but this one just really seems to capture the mood that I'm going for here. Great innocent fun with this one. All right, next up, let's get some Foreigner going here. Specifically, let's go with Out of the Blue, off of the Inside Information album. So at this point in the tape, I feel like we need a good power ballad. And this actually may be my favorite power ballad from the 80s, and that's saying something. But stay tuned for maybe a future mixtape with that as the theme. But yeah, this album, Inside Information from 1987, probably my favorite Foreigner album front to back. So many good songs on here. But Out of the Blue is just a great, fantastic power ballad. So catchy and memorable. Obviously, it's not their most well-known song. And it wasn't even a single, which is surprising. But I love it, and I feel like it just had to have a spot on this mix. All right, so we made it to the end. Last song, side B. You know that we had to include this band somewhere in this mix, and that's Van Halen. Now, a little bit misleading. While this album, 1984, is probably my favorite Van Halen album of all, the song that I want to use for this particular mix doesn't come from that tape, and it actually comes from a tape that I don't have, unfortunately, and that's the album 5150. And specifically, the song itself, the title track, 5150. Every mixtape has to have a great closer. It's like a requirement. And I feel like you can't have a summer 80s weekend playlist without some Van Halen on it. So there were dozens of choices I could have gone with, but 5150 is one of my favorite Van Halen albums. It may not be quite as good as 1984, but it's close. And the song itself, the title track, it just rocks. It does. I'm not going to get into the whole, Sammy Hagar versus David Lee Roth stuff. I like all of their songs, honestly, but and this album, 5150, actually made it to number 1 on the charts in 1986. And I almost went with Dreams, the song Dreams, from that album, because that would have also been a great choice. I'm pretty sure the music video for that one had like all kinds of footage from an air show, like showing, Blue Angel jets flying around and things like that. But but I just love the title track, 5150, a little bit more. And it feels like a perfect closer for this mixtape. Again, full volume, especially on this one. All right, and that's it. We have our first completed mixtape. So now that we're done, how can you listen? Well, I'm going to try to give you all a couple options. The first one is probably the easiest since you all already use YouTube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to a playlist in the video description. It's a playlist that I created which features all of 12 of these songs and in order. You'll have to have, YouTube ads popping up on them, but you'll still get to enjoy the mix if you go that route. The other one is for anybody that uses Spotify. I'm going to try to put a link again in the video description to the Spotify playlist that I created with these 12 songs in order again. It's under my username on Spotify, which is simply The Cassette Phase. And the title of the playlist is Cassette Phase Mixtape Number 1, 80s Summer Weekends. And again, I'm going to try to put the link to both the Spotify playlist and the YouTube playlist in the video description. So hopefully, if you all are interested, you can give the mixtape a listen this weekend or a future weekend or whenever. And if you do check it out, be sure to let me know what you think in the comments. And also, if you want to play along, maybe give me a few songs to check out which might fit this specific theme. Or heck, even make your own full 12-song mixtape and drop that in the comments. And then we can all check it out too. But either way, I appreciate you all hanging out with me and talking music. And there we are. So I hope you all enjoyed talking about 80s music and bands and songs. And if you did, consider subscribing. But for now, and as always, relax, enjoy life, and be kind. We'll see you in the next one.